Garry Tonon, coming off a fresh EBI championship, third. Do anything with the money yet?
No. Honestly, people keep asking me. I want to give a more interesting answer, but I'm just gonna get all my financial affairs in order. I gotta make sure I pay taxes and everything. So, I'm probably gonna buy some things for my gym. Build up the gym a little bit. I need some wall mats and stuff. Maybe some more bags and things for some of the striking training that I'm doing. Other than that, just saving money. Like as a martial arts instructor, you kind of like you gotta get your own insurance and all that stuff. So, I try my best to save my money whenever I can. So we'll see.
Now this one was at lightweight. The last two were at welterweight.
Yes.
Is lightweight where you're planning on sticking from now on?
I'll go wherever I can. Honestly, lightweight I believe is a lot more closely related to my weight. 170 is like my walk around weight. If you give me 10 hours after a weigh-in, realistically I should be doing something like 155, 150. If I have a full day before, I think fighting wise I'd be fighting 145. If it's a day before weigh-in. So. Even a day of weigh-in, I'm usually, for IBJJF, I'm about 160. So I'm a little lighter than I think people think. You know what I mean? Yeah. I've heard some people think that compare me to the size of Keenan, and like, dude, I've fought Keenan a couple times. It's all been like absolute stuff. He's huge. You know what I mean? He's like 200 pounds. I'm nowhere near that size. So
I actually wanted to ask you about Keenan a little bit. He's one of my favorite grapplers. He comes up with a tricky game. He's inventing new shit all the time. Sure. How have you seen jiu-jitsu progress since you started? I mean, he's coming up with that stuff. You've got these inverted heel hooks and whatnot.
Yeah.
From the time you started, the game has progressed immensely. Where do you see it going from here?
I see, and it's already very clear because you see it in MMA and Jiu-Jitsu. You see more and more leg lock finishes. I mentioned this in previous interviews, probably about a year or 2 years ago, that I thought that the biggest increase in grappling knowledge and the biggest increase in moves and inventiveness and all those things were going to be in the leg lock game because of the things that me and Eddie were doing, and some of the other guys, Paul Harris and Imanari and everybody. They've been doing it for a lot longer than us. But it's being more and more seen as highly effective techniques at the highest level in MMA and in Jiu-Jitsu. So I think that the more and more that's happening, people see it's successful, they're going to want to do it. Just like years ago, Berimbolo was a huge thing because a lot of people were making that a really successful technique and winning matches because of it. So everybody studied it, everybody learned it, everybody figured out how to handle it and how to do it. So that's pretty much what's going to happen now, except for I think this isn't just one technique. This is kind of a revolution of an entire different idea about how to attack somebody, attacking the lower body instead of just attacking the upper body submissions, which is typically what we've seen over the past, all of the years that Jiu-Jitsu's been around for the most part. It's been pretty upper body submission focused. A few guys highlighting leg attacks, obviously, but there certainly hasn't been a revolution where everybody took it upon themselves to learn how to do it. And now I think that's what's happening.
Highly dangerous as well, which we saw at the last EBI tournament. Yeah. You posted that big long post on your Facebook thing. Is that something that was in your brain prior to the injury happening at EBI, or? Oh,
it had nothing to do with. You're talking about the 16-year-old that got injured.
Yeah.
That's always been in my head. I always felt as though people need to learn more. If you're gonna enter a tournament, or you have a student that's gonna enter a tournament where submission hold, any submission hold really, is legal, and the person's not familiar with it and they don't know how to deal with it, they don't know the dangers associated with the submission, then you're going to get in trouble, you're going to get damage, you're going to get problems, and it might not even be their fault. They might just roll the wrong way or move the wrong way in a submission. But ultimately, I think it's just putting it on the shoulders of a coach if they're going to put somebody in a position like that to make sure that they understand what's going on. I'm not saying, who knows, maybe her coach did that, and maybe it was all her choice to let her leg break. But I was there 10 feet away. I watched, first of all, the position fully locked in. The girl couldn't move. Second of all, I watched a pop happen. I heard a pop audibly, everybody could hear, a small pop, where she had another opportunity to tap. She still wasn't getting out of the submission. And then the girl completed the submission and fully tore the ligaments. And she had at least two, an early opportunity to tap when she felt she couldn't get out of the submission, and a late opportunity when there was a small pop. So honestly, in my opinion, even if her coach did tell her what to do in that situation, it was still on her shoulders. So for me, it's a responsibility that everybody kind of has to make sure that this kind of stuff happens or doesn't happen.
And in the gi game, that stuff doesn't happen until you're a higher level belt.
Yeah.
But Do you feel like it should be taught early on? That kind of stuff should still be taught at the white belt and blue belt levels?
It depends what you're doing. If you know none of your students are competing with heel hooks or leg locks, fine, don't teach them, no problem. You know, but if you're, I mean, the one only issue I have with that is just be very careful that your student doesn't go train at a gym where something like that is legal. They've never seen it before, and now they're in trouble. You know what I mean? They go visit someplace, they go take a trip, and they go train at a gym where that's legal, and guys aren't applying the holds recklessly, but your student has never seen it before. They could certainly get hurt. You know what I mean? Just like in any other submission hold that they've never seen before. It's on the responsibilities of both the person applying the submission and the person defending it as to whether or not somebody's going to get hurt. You know what I mean? Even in an armbar, if I aggressively bridge the wrong way, I could hurt myself. Yes. You know what I'm saying? It could really happen all across the board. So, you know, there's a responsibility for everybody, you know?
Now, I've got to ask, Octavia Bourdain, you spoke about her a little bit there during the Q&A.
Yeah.
Her husband, Anthony, does he come and train with you guys as well?
He comes in and trains.
Those two, obviously Anthony has become extremely addicted in the game. Do you think we'll ever see him compete?
I don't know. I don't know if it's one of his goals. You know, not everybody that does jiu-jitsu has a goal to compete. And I'm not even sure if that's Octavia's goal, if she wants to compete. But they're both very they both invest a lot of their time into jiu-jitsu, and they like it a lot as a hobby. And you know, Octavia maybe a little bit more than Anthony in the sense that she just spends all day training and taking privates and things. But Anthony's also in the gym. I see him pretty much every day too. So, you know, I think either one of them, if they chose to compete, you know, they could. I don't know. I don't know what their goals are. I've never really asked them about that. You know, they're just kind of training partners, and you know, I try to, you know, when a celebrity's in the gym, like, you know, I try not to be the guy that's like all kind of crazy about it. You know, I try to just treat them like normal people, say hello, and you know, just as they are. You know, that's how they want to be anyway. You know what I mean? They get enough of that stuff outside the gym anyway. So I try my best not to swarm people, even if they're fighters and things like that. You know?
I posted on Reddit today that I was going to be speaking with you. Got a few questions from Reddit.
Okay, great.
One from Phil T. McNasty. He asked, why specifically do you use an opposite hand under the heel wrist wrappy grip to finish outside heel hooks now?
Opposite?
He said, like, if you're outside heel hooking someone's right leg, your right hand goes under the heel.
Yes.
This is the opposite of how heel hook grips are traditionally done.
Right leg to right hand under the heel. Is it the opposite?
I don't know. Personally,
seems like the same. But if I'll state this for Reddit, for what is it, Filthy McNasty?
Phil T. McNasty.
Filthy McNasty. You can technically heel hook somebody with both wrists, either wrist. If I heel hook you like this, or if I bring my hand underneath on this side, the heel hook can be done in either position, just so long as the toes are still trapped underneath the person's armpit. You need pressure in one direction and pressure in another direction. There's no rule that says I have to use this wrist or I have to use this wrist. You can certainly do it both ways.
One other question he had was, you reach for the high crotch on your opponent's right leg pretty often. Are you not concerned with the guillotine or the crucifix, and how do you mitigate that threat?
Yes, I'm concerned with the guillotine and the crucifix. Both of them happen to me occasionally in training, but just like anything, without any risk, there's no reward. I mitigate it by keeping solid shoulder to hip contact and good elbow position when I wrap my opponent's leg, elbow deep around the hamstring and shoulder to hip contact. And this allows me to stay in a position where I'm very tight, making it harder for the person to reach hands in for the guillotine or a crucifix. So in either one of those positions, I try my best to not get caught. When I do start to get caught, I just attempt to roll through in either one of those situations. But it certainly happens. I get caught occasionally, you know.
Final question from Reddit. Nothing Noteworthy is the guy's name. When did you realize that you were really good at BJJ competitions? And when did you know that this was something you could take seriously?
Yeah, you know, I don't know if there was ever a point where I thought I was really good, you know. I still don't like to say things like that. I try to stay as humble as I can, but I don't know. There was definitely some turning points in my career where I was succeeding more than other times, particularly when I, won ADCC trials and things and made it to China and then had a great match against Kron. I think that was probably early on signs that, I was progressing and getting a lot better and able to compete with guys that were world class, clearly, you know what I mean? If the guy that won the whole thing I had a very close match with, I must have been somewhat on that level. I certainly did jiu-jitsu competitively because I loved it and I enjoyed it. I certainly believed that I could be the best at it, but there was no guarantee. It's not like when I started doing it, I just knew that I was going to be in any capacity, good at competing. I still think that you could do a lot of things right competing, and you could be very, very good at jiu-jitsu and not succeed competitively. There's just so many variables that any number of different things can happen when you're competing. The guy across from you just might have a game that opposes yours, and things just don't work out. It's just been plenty of times in my career where that happened. I blame myself, but ultimately, there's no guarantee that any one person is going to succeed in competition no matter what they do. That's the nature of our sport, is it's always probability. There's no guarantee. It's still a little bit of a roll of the dice every time. You can increase your chances by preparation, and that's what I always try to do. But as I picked up more and more steam, more and more wins against higher level, high class guys, that's as I started to figure out that, all right, I'm getting paid to do this now occasionally. I can make a little bit of more of a run professionally. But at the same time, right before that match with Kron, I had just started owning my own school, so I was also following the route of owning a school and being an instructor. So owning a school and being an instructor was something that I knew I could always do, no matter what. So that was where my head has always been. So I think, that's always been number one. And the competitive thing just happened to work out well, Not that it just happened like by magic, like I put a lot of effort and time into it, but at the same time, it very well couldn't have. And, I'm glad that things worked out the way that they did. I can't give anybody a perfect answer. I think personally that, that you just have to try to stand the test of time when it comes to competition and just keep coming forward. I mean, there's just been so many times where I lost. Anybody could have taken that loss against Kron and just been like, screw it, I was so close and then got it all ripped away from me, and then got discouraged and then decided not to compete anymore or to just teach or whatever, I just encourage anybody to never take that step back and just keep going, unless some serious injury prevents you from continuing to compete. If you love it and you enjoy it, you should keep doing it and see where it takes you, you know what I mean? It's not like MMA where you're taking brain trauma every single day, you're fine, you know what I mean? You can continue competing forever. So I think as long as your heart's still in it and you still like to do it, keep going, whether you fail, win, lose, whatever. In terms of turning it into a career, that's still pretty difficult in terms of money. I'm glad I still have my school to support me, so.
Two more things for you. Goals for 2016.
Yeah.
Obviously the professional thing, EBI, maybe Metamoris. Who knows what your plan is, but what are your goals for 2016? Yeah,
it depends on what pops up. I know Polaris is going to be there. I don't know anything about any other tournaments. Nobody's really notified me about what's going on. We're going to hopefully get in earlier than that because Polaris won't happen until April and March. So I like to have a competition like at least once every 6 weeks. So hopefully I'll find something in January, if not February. If anybody's out there and they're about to run a promotion, please contact me and I'll be happy to figure something out. There's a lot of guys on my list of guys that I still want to beat, so be happy to accommodate for super fights or whatever the case may be.
Name some of those.
So there's a lot of guys. Paharis is definitely on the list. Ryan Hall, these are the guys that consider to be like leg lock authorities now. So we want to keep competing against those guys so that our name keeps getting raised in that world. Other people unrelated to leg locks, well, a little bit. Davi Ramos, who just won ADCC. I'd certainly love a match against him. Lucas Lepre, who I lost to by points in ADCC. I'd love to have some sort of a submission match against him, but even if I didn't, even if it was points, I'd love to compete against him again. I'm trying to think. There's a bunch of other people too. JT Torres, I haven't fought in a long time. Not since I was a purple belt that we fought each other. I lost a 0-0 decision, so that's kind of sits bad with me. I want finished business to be there, so I'd love to compete against him again. There's a lot of guys on that list. Trying to think. I feel like there was one more big one that I missed. I just lost to him at Nogi Worlds. He's a Brazilian guy. Trying to think. Michael Lange. Michael Lange, I would love another match against him. That would be good. Whether it's submission format or points format, whatever. Again, it's like, I only lost by like 2 for rolling for a toe hold. So it's like, and there's more there, like it wasn't a decisive thing for me. And so I would like to compete against him again, so.
Finally, you got here to Vancouver, Canada on Friday.
Yes.
Star Wars came out. You said here that, jiu-jitsu is your world, you're a nerd, you have nothing else to do, nothing else to get to.
Yes.
How stoked are you for Star Wars?
I'm very excited.
When are you going to see it?
I'm very excited. I'm going to see it as soon as possible. I don't know if I'm going to see it today, just because I'd like to, hang out in Vancouver a little bit, but maybe as soon as I get back home, probably. It's going to be tough. Holidays are around, shopping and everything like that, but at some point during the holidays, I'm going to get out there and see it for sure. I'm not like the biggest Star Wars nerd in the world, but I love all the movies, and I thoroughly enjoy them, so I can't wait to watch for sure.
Thanks a lot.